we recently just heard about the alibi, or the standing silent alibi. How do you perceive Kohberger's recent alibi and his decision with his team to stand silent once again?
Well, it's interesting. I considered it kind of analogous to a backhanded compliment. This was a backhanded alibi. It wasn't really an alibi. It's basically saying, listen, we're going to use the prosecution's witnesses sort of against their themselves. And they're going to, through testimony and cross-examination, they're going to basically provide some sort of information that it really wasn't Bryan Kohberger there. That's kind of what they really, in a nutshell, are trying to say. That combined with experts, right? They're going to have experts on the stand to say, hey, he was actually in Alaska, according to his cell records. Okay, that's a bit out there, but you know what I mean. They're going to say he wasn't in Moscow, Idaho at the pertinent hours when the cell information that law enforcement has gleaned says he was there. They're going to pick apart the videos, even though we've really just seen a handful of the videos and we've seen them in their worst state. We haven't seen them when they've been enhanced for better viewing. But they're still going to have experts to say, no, that's actually, a white Mitsubishi vehicle, or, whatever vehicle they choose. So believe me, they will have experts that will come forward, and this is their plan, but I don't really call it an alibi.
Sure. So, just asking you here, and it's a great segue to what you just actually talked about. So when Ann Taylor speaks about questioning the prosecution's witnesses, whom does she imply, and what does she intend to challenge in those questions during her questioning?
Such a great question. Such a great question. I think the number one person she wants to get up on the stand, as we've seen, is Bethany Funk.
Yeah.
She wants Bethany Funk to say, I didn't hear anything. I didn't see anything. And I can just hear her droning away saying, you mean 4 people were murdered a floor away from you, 2 floors away from you, and you didn't hear anything? Dylan Mortensen heard things. You didn't hear anybody come in. You didn't hear the dog bark. And so I think she wants to turn Bethany's Funk's possible, admission to, I was asleep and didn't hear anything, turn that around. I think she also can't wait to get her hands on Dylan Mortensen. We'll see how well she holds up. I could tell you, from somebody who's been on the stand for hours and hours and hours as a case agent on different cases, it's grueling. Just imagine if you're sitting there in the hot seat and you have attorneys, 3 attorneys in this case, right? Are they up to 3 or 4 right now? I think there are 4.
4.
Sorry, they just got the DNA expert attorney. 4 attorneys that have spent months, and maybe by that time, years, figuring out questions, forming ideas from 51 terabytes of information, doing whatever they can to discredit Dylan Mortensen, whoever's on the stand. They'll look at a minor case. I'll tell you something I wrote on a tweet accidentally, even though I've talked about ground penetrating radar and known about it for years and years and years, a decade. I put ground penetrating sonar. I don't even know why I put that. It was just kind of a brain fade. So I've got 20 tweets talking about GPR and 1 tweet where I accidentally wrote sonar. And somebody, of course, pointed that out, right? That's what it's like on the stand, only it's happening in real time. And you accidentally say sonar, and they say, see, you didn't, you weren't even there, were you? Because she's going to, say, oh, I also saw eyelashes. Oh, you didn't say that in the probable cause affidavit. You didn't say that in your first statement. So I worry about that young lady. I think she's going to be emotional. She probably has a lot of guilt for surviving, a lot of guilt over actions she did and didn't take. I think they are salivating to get a hold of her and try to turn her words upside down. She's a woman with likely absolutely zero experience testifying. And So those are the two main people I think she's going to focus on.
Yeah, I've been saying here on my podcast and on my shows that I just feel like Ann Taylor's approach, and I call this kind of like the O.J. Simpson approach. She's gonna attack the DNA evidence. She's gonna attack the sheath that we know of right now. She's gonna attack the witnesses and their credibility. She's gonna get law enforcement on the stand and challenge their records. How did you collect the evidence? How did you bag the evidence? What was the process? Did you wear boots in the house? Did you have suits on? I feel like they're almost like, I feel like we're going to go right back to OJ Simpson, and that's going to be the defense here. I mean, am I wrong on that, or do you kind of feel that as well?
I feel that as well. I think it is going to be a lot of mud up against the wall. Let's just see what sticks. We only need one juror, one juror to have some sort of sympathy or doubt, and then it could be a hung jury. So that's what they're hoping for, certainly. I agree with you. I think the good news is, and I know some people aren't going to like me saying this, but I don't think it's going to be televised. It may be streamed, and then later they'll release it how he's done the rest of the hearings, or the hearings to date. I don't even know if he's going to allow that. I say that because we are talking about victims, victim statements. I mean, if it were me, I certainly wouldn't. If I were the judge, I don't want a menagerie.
Right.
I don't want all this posturing and posing and acting, and like what happened in OJ. And I think how they handled, I believe, Lori Vallow. The Lori Vallow case, they just had people, making drawings and reporting on what happened. I hope they do that. I know that upsets some people because they feel like they have a right to be able to see the proceedings. I always look at only 4 things in this case: Xana, Ethan,
absolutely,
Maddie, and Kaylee. And for them to get justice, to me, that's all we should all really care about at the end of the day.
I think I think for me, having that camera in the courtroom and just having it live is gonna give us the best transparency that we can see, because there's so many questions in this case about, is it an Elantra or isn't an Elantra, the knife sheath, where's the murder I just want absolute complete transparency for these victims, because they deserve that. And I just feel like there's been so much mud that has slung, and again, we're going back to that hyperpolarization where everything, it's been slung on both sides. And I think the fairest way to do this is, have that camera in the courtroom. But I do agree. I don't think that we're going to get that. I know we all want it, but it just might not happen. Just even looking at how Judge, which has an amazing name, by the way, I love that name. How he even just said, like, look, during these proceedings, if the camera's going to be completely on Kohberger, zooming in and zooming out all the time, I'll just shut it down in a second. So, I mean, I know he's going to be ultimately very fair through this trial, and wants to be fair, because this trial is so important to this community, the nation and the world, to get it right. And, if Bryan Kohberger is guilty, then he deserves to go away, or he deserves the death penalty in the state of Idaho. But if he's not, and he is innocent, and the jury and the evidence shows that, then we still got a lot of work to do, and I say that just in the community, they still have a lot of work to do to investigate and find out who did this. So, if I'm sorry, go ahead, Jennifer.
I said, no, I agree. I agree with you. I agree with you about the transparency. I just don't know if it has to be on camera transparency. We need to know about everything that's presented and, see all the evidence. That has to be done. Can it be done without cameras is the question. And remember, I don't know if you remember this, I bet you do. When Judge was on the stand, he pronounced 2 of the victims' names inaccurately, and he was crucified in mainstream media, social media, all forums. I mean, the victim parents were mortified about it, at least some of them, and came forward. My point being is that gave him a taste of what 1 or 2 mistakes can mean to him. And I think that will come to bear when we don't see cameras.